What's up?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all good. How? Where are you at right now? Where's your? Is this your studio or?
Yeah, behind me is my studio, based in Utrecht, um,
Uh-huh.
and actually it's in my home, so I can just next door is my bedroom,
Yeah.
and we have the room on that side. So
Nice.
yeah,
How,
works
how
fine.
how do you like that to have the studio at home?
It's both great and not so great at the same time because you're never done working.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, even like at 12 o'clock in the evening, and you go an idea pops up in your head, you go into the studio and I start working and like, oh fuck, it's already 3 a.m.
Yeah.
um but that's also an advantage, I don't have to travel to go to the studio. If anybody asks anything, I can just go in, change it immediately.
Yeah. That's definitely a nice perk to have, but I do realize that it's
Yeah,
also a downside at the same time.
sometimes I think I would prefer maybe just to go on a bike for 10 minutes or by car and then be in the studio so you can really shut it down and go home and do something else.
Yeah.
But I've never tried it, so I don't know what I
Oh,
prefer.
you
I
should
will I
give
will
it a
need to
try.
try it sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that within Utrecht it's pretty hard to find a studio space. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's why I'm really happy with this place here, and it's great. Yeah.
I can imagine. So, for all the people and for me as well, by the way, because I don't think we've ever met before.
I don't think so, no.
No, I do recognize your name, your real name.
Okay.
Um, but I wanted to ask you, like, did you had a different name before Maddix or?
Yes, I was producing music just under my own name, which is Pablo. And
Yeah,
I
that's probably
think
what I reckon.
maybe it's a long time ago, so
I'm in it for a long time already. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so that's probably what I recognized it for. Pablo Rint, right?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
Yes, that's it.
exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. But no, we've never met before. So for everyone who's listening or watching at this moment and wonders who the hell this guy is, who's this guy?
Well, I'm Pablo. I go by the DJ name of Maddix right now. I think I started it like 6 years ago.
Hmm.
At a point in my career that I decided, okay, the music I made before, because I'm producing for 15, 16 years maybe.
How old are you?
I'm 31 already.
Oh, okay, it's
Yeah.
quite the same as me. I'm 33, so we're
Yeah,
kind of the
yeah,
same age.
yeah. So I guess around 6 years ago, I started Maddix, like the new project, and continued with revealed recordings, like slowly signed my releases, and um, I yeah, I have had some big collabs with Hartwell, Bella Ciao, Smash This Beat, with Timmy Trumpet, with Will Sparks, and everything was fine actually. But 2 years ago, I decided to change direction a little bit because my taste changed. So right now, and the fans they will know it. Like I'm releasing more techno, trance, old school influenced music with my own sound combined. So
Okay.
I would say it's quite unique in a way. Um, but we can talk about that later. But that's a
Yeah.
short introduction who I am.
Yeah, exactly. So Pablo, also known by Maddix,
Yeah.
31 years old,
Yes.
living in Utrecht.
Living in Utrecht.
Previously made EDM, now going into the tech-ish trends kind of
Yeah.
realm.
Big room techno is what some people call it, but yeah.
Yeah. Is
Some,
there a certain genre you would call it, or?
I, I've been thinking about it, but I would say big room techno because it's basically a little bit of a crossover. But I don't want to be bound to specific genres too much.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning.
yeah,
You mentioned you started doing this, making music at least for like about 15 years ago.
uh huh.
Um, if we count back, that was around the age of 16.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and tell me about that time. How did you get started with this, or what was the trigger to get you into the music?
So basically, I grew up with music in my family. My mom, she teaches djembe, like the African
Oh,
drum.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so she does like lessons, workshops, and as a child, so I grew up with it.
Yeah.
So whenever I couldn't sleep as a baby, little kid, she started drumming next to me, and I fell asleep. And
How did
then,
your mom end up in that kind of?
um, yeah, like a long time ago, she got triggered by it and just
Oh.
started practicing because she enjoyed it so much.
I actually have a djembe. I'm not sure if I have it here, but I bought it
Oh,
when I
really?
was super small, like a
Yeah.
small djembe, like
Oh,
a
yeah, yeah,
tiny
yeah.
one. Yeah. But anyway, continue.
So as a kid, I started playing like djembe and all the percussion instruments,
Hmm.
and slowly that transitioned into playing piano as well, and drums, like, um, and that slowly went into like, yeah, you're making music all the time, and I got interested in dance music, because I heard some tracks, or I downloaded some tracks from like really old school tracks, and I got triggered, and I was like, okay, I want to make this, but
Yeah.
how do you start? And that's actually when I first started making, yeah, music myself on the computer with Fruity
Mm.
Loops back in the days.
Yeah, without YouTube and without all the
No
tutorials.
YouTube, everything yourself. Yeah, it's difficult. It's completely different than
Yeah.
how it's going now, but that's when it started for me, and that's the trigger.
So then you started making music. You were also still on school.
Yeah, yeah. After high school, I went to university,
Okay.
um, and I did like artificial intelligence,
Wow.
but I quit after a few months.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, but the problem was that there was really no time left
Hmm.
to do any music. So I was used to make music every day, every evening,
Yeah.
and now I got home at 8 in the evening. I had to do homework,
Yeah.
and then the next morning leave at 7 again, and every single day. So I started skipping doing my homework and started making music again. And I had a good talk with my parents and decided, okay, maybe it's better to try something with the music, but do it more seriously instead of
Yeah.
just making it in your home. Yeah.
And how were was that an easy conversation?
Um, Actually, my mom started the conversation
Okay.
because she's in music as well. So she understood my passion,
Hmm.
and I remember it as a quite an easy conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
But they wanted me to do something in music, so they didn't want me to stay at home the whole day
Yeah.
making music and that's it. So I started looking for like applying to other schools,
Hmm.
um, and I actually ended up first doing a course for half a year at SAE.
Yeah.
You know it, I guess.
Yeah. It's a pretty big institute.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
I think it's even an international
I
institute.
think so.
So
Yeah, it
yeah.
is. And after that, I applied for University of the Arts in Utrecht.
Okay. And
We,
that
as Dutch people say, HKU.
yeah. Okay. And that's different kinds of arts, right?
Yes, it's like composition and music production is what I followed there,
Yeah.
but it's not really based on electronic music per se. You get
Yeah.
like teach really broad stuff, and there's people singing, people playing instruments, different type of instruments, all together mixed in a class. But that's also the cool part about it.
And did you finish that school?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
How did you combine your music during the school period?
Um, Actually, I wasn't releasing that much, only on my Pablo Rint name. So, and basically, it was fine. Like um, um, all the assignments you got were pretty easily to make your own,
Yeah.
to make your own music for it. So yeah, if you're on the school and you do your homework and you put time into it, you will get there, I
Mhm.
guess. So
So during the school, you tried to build your Pablo Rin brand at that time.
yeah, and just get better at producing music because it was still difficult for me to be like really good, sound really good. So just you learn a lot from all the other students as well.
Yeah.
And I started building lots of tracks. Try to do some promo and send it out. And it was really difficult to reach out to labels, of course. But I was still in school, so it's fine. It didn't really matter that much, and just try to get better. And Actually, I think in the I third or fourth year, I started Maddix. I came up with the Maddix
Okay.
project and rebranded everything.
Okay. And were you living at your parents' place at that time, or?
No, on my own,
Okay,
small student room. Yeah,
that was pretty tough, I can imagine.
yeah. But I also had a side job, just
Okay, yeah,
one day a week
yeah,
at
to
how to
pay the
say it,
bills.
recycling station.
Recycling station. Oh, that's new.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard many side jobs, but
yeah.
recycling station is new.
Before that, I worked at a supermarket as well, but changed jobs sometimes. And this one earned a lot of money because on Saturdays and the weekends you got more. So why
Why
not?
not?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That's interesting because I notice often that artists who kind of made it to a
yeah,
certain point, most of them actually started with a side job next to it because in the beginning, as you know, it's super hard to make money from your music. So
for sure.
um,
Yeah,
especially if you're young, if you're 16 years old, it's a super big advantage to live at your parents' place because you don't have any um, bills to pay.
yeah. True, true, true.
So it's funny that there's like a pattern in there with
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
most
yeah. I
artists.
had to work because otherwise there's no money. So
Yeah,
you
exactly.
have to find the balance between working and your music and
Yeah.
find a way to earn more money, maybe.
And at which point is music your full time career now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At which point did that happen?
So after I graduated
Hmm.
um, at the University of the Arts, actually for my graduation project, I made a whole album
Okay.
with I think like 12 tracks, and one of those got signed on Revealed and was my first release on Revealed Recordings. Um, and I think after that, it took me like 1.5 year maybe to build up more releases and somewhat of a steady income.
Mm.
Also doing ghost productions because
Okay.
you started receiving a bigger name.
Yeah.
Um, and I think after that, I also did my first shows, and I decided after about 1.5 year, okay, no more side job. I can start just fully doing
Yeah.
this. But
For,
I'm unsure a bit. Maybe it's been 2 years because I was scared to let go of the only safe thing
yeah.
in my life,
What made it scary to you?
because I knew I could work there either 1 or 2 times a week, every week.
It was a
So
safe
if you
haven.
need money, you can just call them and go there, and it's
Yeah.
fine. And although all the other stuff is doing fine, it's still scary to let go of this one safe way to earn money.
Yeah, I can imagine. And at that time, you were making money from your gigs, but also maybe some money on your music as well.
Yeah, some money on music, but um, like the royalties a little bit, some ghost productions, um, yeah, basically that, and a few shows because it slowly started
Yeah.
building with some shows. Yeah.
And did you build your network in your Pablo Rins time and kind of kickstarted your Maddix brand because you already knew a lot of people when you started Maddix, or?
Um, no, actually, I started with Maddix because the first release of Maddix was not officially a release. It was a I started doing research, and every time I emailed like Revealed, Spin-In, whatever, all the big labels, I got no reply.
Yeah,
Um,
classic.
yeah, so I started looking for guys that worked at blogs who write about music. And then I remember for my first one, I wanted to do a free download, so I emailed 42 blogs about this new track with a private link. And one of those replied, only one, but they wanted to do a post about it and like a featured release just together as a free download. And after it was released a few weeks later, I had like 10 to 12,000 streams on SoundCloud, which
Wow.
was great for like an account without
Yeah.
any views or any followers actually.
Yeah.
And I linked it to my Facebook, like download gating, the whole stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and later on, that track got, I think it was that track got released by Armada because they liked it,
Hmm.
and that got sent to Revealed because they were doing Dyro's Wolf Radio.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Wolf Radio number one, this was the first track
Oh,
of the
really?
radio. And that's how it slowly got in touch, because they started recognizing like, oh, cool track, send us your new music.
Yeah. And
Um,
then everything started to go, obviously.
yeah, then slowly you build a connection with the people,
Yeah.
and it gets easier to contact them.
Yeah, to contact them, but
Yeah,
still, it's still pretty hard to achieve all those releases.
yeah, definitely.
Do all your like from the moment you got signed to Revealed, for example,
Yeah.
all the tracks that you've sent, did all those tracks got signed?
No, 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 no way.
Yeah, because that's a big myth that somehow starting artists
Mm,
kind
yeah,
of believe, like once you're there, you're there, you know.
yeah, yeah. No,
Uh,
no.
but for me as well, I think once I got signed with the biggest labels, 20-30% got signed.
Yeah, yeah. When I started, it was something about that. I remember sending 7 tracks at once, after, and then they came back, and they wanted one release, and that was the first release on Revealed. And
Yeah,
after that, I kept on sending. It was like, no, 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 no. Oh yes,
yeah,
no, 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 no. But it gets better.
true.
But it's also maybe because, like, you're growing as an artist, you're getting better at production, you know the guys better. Um, yeah. So right now, almost everything I make, I can release
Yeah.
if I want.
And what about the songs that don't get signed? What do you do with those?
Mm, right now or back then?
Both.
Okay, back then, some of them that were good enough, I did a free download or
Hmm.
released them myself a few times.
But this was like a pre-Spotify kind of world.
Yeah, Spotify existed, and I released some stuff
Yeah,
on Spotify as well. I guess one track on Spotify.
but it was like in the starting phase.
Yeah, starting
Yeah,
phase.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And after that, like, if I had enough releases, I didn't really care about the rejected ones, because you still have this time frame that just keeps on going with releasing, so it's fine.
Yeah.
And right now, usually, if a track is not good enough, I keep on changing until it's good enough. So I
For a
don't,
label or for you?
for me,
Okay.
and I
And
usually don't even keep like the old project files, because I just keep on going, like iterating, changing stuff until I think it's good enough. And most of the time, when I send it out, it's like, okay, sick, it sounds great. Yeah.
and what happens when a label, when you think it's good enough and a label thinks it's not good enough?
We either have a discussion, um, or I just, I don't know. It hasn't really happened that much,
Okay.
because, um, with Revealed, like, when I started changing my sound a little bit, um, I had this EP, with 2 tracks, Your Mind and The Rave, which both were pretty heavily techno influenced,
Hmm.
and Revealed never really has done anything like that before. So first they told me, like, the feedback, like, yeah, maybe it's too much techno, and then basically we tried to convince them, this for me is the future, so
Yeah.
you should try it, and they tried it, and they were really happy with it. So it's really cool to see them open-minded
Yeah.
about it as well.
And you mentioned we try to convince them. Who's we in this case?
Me and my manager,
Okay, and who's the manager?
Mano.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at which point in your career did the manager enter?
Somewhere in the Maddix phase, actually at the same time when I started with a booking agency, because the first few shows I tried to arrange myself, and at some point it got difficult. Like, you don't know how to negotiate, you don't know what's normal in the industry,
Yeah.
and I started asking people, and they wanted to sign me for a year already. So I tried to hold it back, because I was like, I don't really need it.
Yeah.
And at one point, I was like, okay, maybe I do need it now. So we started talking again. Yeah,
Which agency is that?
it's dedicated agency,
Okay.
which is doing my bookings, and Mano was working there,
Hmm.
on the management side, but, um, the management side has quit over there, so Mano is now
Okay.
himself.
And at that time, like, didn't you had anyone in your surroundings which you could talk to who kind of understood this industry or could help you making those decisions?
Yeah, for sure. And I always called some people like, hey, do you know what do I need to ask for this show? How to
Yeah,
check this contract? All this stuff. And I tried to find people to help, and it worked out, but it got a little bit annoying. Like keep on asking people, and sometimes it's easier to
yeah,
just have one guy um, that knows all about you, and that can just
yeah,
help you out all the time.
yeah. I can imagine he kind of becomes part of the family at some point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's funny because when I changed my sound, um, I decided this myself, like without anyone, no label, no one. And I started in the studio, and I was like, okay, I go to techno parties myself.
Hmm.
Maybe I want to try and make something a bit more unique with a little bit of influence from this sound. So I made a first track, and I had a meeting with my manager, and I went there. And I entered the building, and he's like, okay, Pablo, we need to talk because something about your music needs to change. And I'm like, okay, I had the same feeling, listen to this. And he was like, okay, it's done. It's
Okay.
perfect. This is the direction we need to take. So somehow we both felt like, okay,
Yeah.
some change needs to
And
happen.
what was the reason for it to change? Like, did it became too generic or something? Or
Also, but like mainly my own taste just slowly changed,
yeah,
and I felt like you get stuck a little bit because everyone has expectations, and you keep on making the same stuff.
yeah,
And I always try to be influenced by different genres, but techno always was a bit too far, and it made me realize like fuck the genres, fuck the rules,
yeah.
just do whatever I feel like doing. Um,
Was that the first time you kind of realized that?
I've realized it before, but I never really um, dared to change,
Hmm.
Also because you're building a name, and I felt like, okay, right now, um, I have a name, and maybe the label will accept it as well because Revealed never has done anything in this genre before.
Yeah. And what led you to finally making the decision? What was the thing that yeah helped
I
you?
made the first track. I showed it to Mano. He was super happy. I made, I guess, one or two more tracks, and in my head I still hadn't fully changed, like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do, because it's really difficult to let go of your old stuff. And I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, if I have a show, I will also play my biggest hits. But as Revealed supported it, and the fans were shocked at first, but half of them were shocked and like, what's this noise, what's this shit?
yeah.
Half of them were like, finally something new. And every single track I kept like changing a little bit more in the direction that I want. And honestly, it's been super good for me to have complete freedom in the studio.
Yeah,
I don't care about the rules. I remember the first time I used the techno kick in a big room track, and I was like, should I do this? Is it too crazy? And then it works great. No
yeah.
one cares. They actually like it because it's new.
It's funny how that works, right? You have this need to change something, and deep
Yeah,
inside you kind of know what needs to be changed, but
yeah,
somehow there's a lot of mental blocks that you put up yourself
exactly,
that keep
exactly.
you from actually doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Mm,
It's nice to see that you've overcome it because some artists tend to get stuck within that space and kind of go into this negative loop where they keep making stuff they don't actually like, and the fans kind of get bored because it's the same shit all over again.
exactly. Yeah.
Um,
But it's really difficult what you say. It's really
it's
difficult to
super
change it.
difficult. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I only started realizing that once I quit DJing.
yeah.
A few years later, I was able to kind of look at the whole DJ career from a bigger perspective, and I was like, holy fuck, it's pretty complicated. It seems so
Uh,
easy and it seems so obvious, but there's so many different dynamics within your career that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
um, which is also something I wanted to ask, is like, how do you deal with the fans? Because you mentioned 50% accepted it, the other 50% was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? Because it's the first time you kind of build an audience, it's the first time you have
Yeah.
an audience,
Yeah.
and now you kind of say, well, it's not like you say literally, but you kind of say, fuck you guys, I'm gonna do whatever I want.
True, but to me, like the most important thing, it's my life, it's my music, and I need to enjoy it.
Is
So
did you always believe that, or is that something that is relatively new to you? That thought.
I think I believed it, but didn't realize I believed it.
Hmm.
But
Never act to it.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So, um, well, the first track, it it was like 50-50, as I just told you, and it's difficult, but at the same time, I knew like the reactions from the people in the industry as well. And sometimes people and fans, if you're a really big fan of a specific sound, change can be really hard to accept.
yeah.
I mean, if something works, you want it to stay the same.
People don't
And
like change.
yeah, exactly. And that's how it works. So I realized like, okay, I need to convince them
Hmm.
in a slow process. And you cannot like at one point just change everybody. Oh yeah, it's great, 100%. It's not possible. People
Yeah,
need time to change to realize like, okay, maybe it's cool. And that's exactly what I saw in like all the releases building up. I saw more and more people starting to dig it and like saying, hey, finally something new. This is great.
yeah,
Um, some issues that we had is that exactly when I started releasing the new genres, COVID hit, and I wanted to premiere a new set at Ultra Miami, which got cancelled. And from there on, like I've made all this music without doing any shows.
yeah. You've actually never played your new kind of style
No,
before.
until like last summer, it was possible to finally have a few. But before that, over a year, I've never played anything,
Yeah,
which has been weird because um, when I started this, I wanted to combine it with my old sound. But now my first show, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna play any of my old songs,
yeah.
which is again a shock for people maybe that who come and see me. But yeah,
And how about creating some sort of remakes or bootlegs from your old hits into the new sound?
it's still on my to-do list.
Ah, okay, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But what I try to do, because some of the fans they enjoy big room and they think that the techno is going to be really boring for them.
mm,
But now I've done a few shows and I've seen that even those big room fans, they have so much fun during the shows because it's still Maddix, it's still going hard like the same I was before,
yeah,
just with a new sound, different sound. And I try to put in a lot of recognizable stuff.
yeah,
I've made some remixes of old tracks in the new sound, not my own tracks, but other people's
yeah.
tracks. Yeah. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Listen, I want to skip the part about COVID because I think we're all tired of that shit. But
True.
I'm interested in one part, because this whole period kind of changed a lot
Yeah.
within the music industry as well. And what I'm wondering is, what did it change for you? Like, how did you experience it, or what kind of changes did you brought to your musical career during this time?
Um, I think it's a bit difficult to answer because right when it hit, I just started changing my sound and I actually got way more inspired in the studio because I was more free.
Okay, yeah.
Um, which has nothing to do with COVID, but that's how it felt in the beginning.
Mm,
Um, right now, I appreciate the few shows I've done so much more, and I cannot wait to go fully back, opened up on tour,
yeah,
because I really miss like you make club music and you want to go out there and you want to see the response, you want to feel the bass, and it's just not possible.
yeah,
So right now, the last few months is like up and down, like of excitement, and you're making a track, you release a track without ever being able to play it live.
yeah.
It's just stupid.
And how did it change your perspective on your audience? Like, social media, for example, became more important. Already
Yeah,
was super important, but now I kind of feel like it has the overhand.
yeah.
Is that something you like to do, or?
No, I don't really like the social media side of things, and I also think it's actually made it harder for me, the social media part, because there's no content.
Hmm.
So with all these algorithms and whatever, you need to either be super funny on purpose or by yourself maybe, and make these, TikTok styled videos. And I just don't like to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to find a way still to balance like my music with sometimes maybe a funny video, but yeah, it's really difficult.
Yeah, but I think this is good to hear for a lot of the people who are listening, because what I notice a lot within artists, like bigger artists or smaller artists,
Yeah.
social media is such a big, well, let's just say problem,
Mm,
because it's now more important than ever, and I don't really see a way back from this, to be honest.
no. Yeah.
I do believe that the world has become more digital over the years and will probably be more digital within a few years. So I don't think there's a way back. So dealing with this and finding a way to make it work for yourself is super important.
Yeah. Exactly.
And is
For
that
sure.
something you spend? How much time do you spend on social media at this point?
Um, Actually, recently I started hiring someone
Hmm.
to help a little bit with it, because myself, I just want to be in a studio, and I always forget, like, oh shit, I need to do a post, and then like at 3, you need to start like looking for something, and it takes you 1 hour, maybe
Yeah,
1.5 to make something, and it just completely breaks your workflow.
yeah,
So that's
true.
why I started looking for someone who at least like help with ideas and help with some videos, cutting them, sorting everything, and make a planning every week. So right now, that's what we do. Like once every week or 2 weeks, we do a quick call and schedule some stuff.
And is that
Um,
do you post on a daily base or?
no,
Okay.
I guess like 3 posts a week, something to aim for, but it depends on the content as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and I'm also really bad at stories because I don't know. You need to learn it. If I'm on tour, it's easy for me
What
because
makes it easier?
you have stuff to show. You can show people around the world, you're flying, you have a story to tell. If I show them my studio every single day, it's not really interesting for them.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
it's
don't.
funny because I have this conversation with all the artists that come here,
Yeah.
uh, and it's some sort of conviction that they seem to have told themselves, make them
Mm,
believe like my life is boring aside from the touring,
yeah.
um, which I don't fully agree with, because I think every person's life is interesting. It's just a way of, depends on how you frame it and what you show and what you don't show.
True. True.
But to a lot of your fans, your life is super interesting because you're living the dream to them.
Yeah. But
As we're
maybe it's more that I'm like still a little bit scared to maybe share too much personal
could
stuff. I
be.
don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't want to put my whole life on Instagram, you
yeah,
know?
and
Um,
I wouldn't even recommend you to do,
no.
because it's
Yeah.
pretty shitty, But
Yeah.
if you would take, like, let's say 10 minutes of your day, of the 24 hours that you're alive,
Hmm.
just 10 minutes a day of content is nothing. So you can leave 23 hours and 50 minutes of your day private, and the
True.
other 10 minutes you can post about.
Yeah. True.
But that's just something I also recognize with a lot of artists. Like, they kind of, yeah, inside their head they kind of convince themselves that their life is boring, while
Yeah.
to a lot of fan perspectives you're living the dream.
That's true. That's true.
Sitting
Yeah.
in the studio and making a living from your music is the end goal to them,
Yeah. True. That's true.
which it was for you as well a couple of years ago.
For sure. For sure.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's on the shelf for you for the upcoming period? And of course, like, not no really knowing what the future could bring, but how are you anticipating on that?
Um, I have some really cool tracks coming up, and that's one of the goals for me. Like release music about every 6 weeks.
Hmm.
I've made a lot of edits and try to stay relevant with those. Like pick old tracks. For example, next week there's one Advanced from Marcel Woods. like the old school
It's a
guys, they would,
classic.
yeah, it's a classic track, and I remixed it, and it's now coming out officially. So that's like one part, a few big collabs, um, to try and stay relevant, and without, like, for me, it's basically the most important thing to show my sound to people, but it's impossible with the shows.
Yeah.
So the next step is to have a few big collabs, so their fans will also possibly see my sound.
And are you doing any relatively new marketing strategies to yeah, to bring your music towards the audience?
Um, no, I don't even think so. What kind of
No, but
strategies
maybe.
do you mean?
Well, if you there's not a lot of artists who have been doing it, but if you think about artists who brought their music to, I don't know, the metaverse, or do live shows in the
Ah,
metaverse, or
yeah.
do things to have the fans experience the music while the clubs are
Mm,
closed, but still
mm,
kind of experience the music in a different way.
yeah. Um, Not really. We have been in talks about some NFT stuff, but it's been a long time ago, before, like just when the hype started, actually a little bit before, because I'm also quite interested in it. But
Yeah,
at the same time, we got stuck a little bit, and I believe right now it's really difficult as well to like, do a really proper one, because you want to attach some special values
yeah,
to it, which is difficult because the whole world is still closed. And I think maybe it's better to wait a little bit and let it grow, from my side.
yeah.
Um, and other than that, not really. I'm trying to push my YouTube account a little bit more. Um,
And what is it that you do on the YouTube channel?
well, I didn't even upload my own tracks, so that's
Oh
something
wow.
I started doing right now. I released a Squid Game remix on there,
Hmm.
just on YouTube. It's doing really well. I released a masterclass, production masterclass, and that's something I want to do like 3 times a year, maybe record a full masterclass so people can see it and,
Cool.
hopefully learn a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. One question that I like to ask as well is, what tip would you give your younger self? So the 16-year-old Pablo, what tip would you give him with the knowledge that you have now?
Ooh.
And don't say buy Bitcoin.
Well, that's a really good one,
It's a
basically.
really good one, but it's
Really good one.
yeah.
Um, wow, it's a difficult question, man.
No, man, that doesn't matter. You can take some
Yeah,
time to think.
yeah, I'm thinking, but maybe, like, I would have preferred to just be free in the studio from the beginning,
Mm,
instead of like only realizing it after so many years.
yeah,
And, I think that would have helped me way earlier to be more interesting to other people, because you make something not copying. Well, it wasn't really
yeah.
copying, but not sounding the same. And I think that would be a great tip for myself,
That
to
is a
start a bit
great tip.
earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a great tip. I know a lot of people are struggling with that, and somehow you found your way out.
Mm.
Um, do you still know how you found your way out, or is it just something that happened?
It just happened. It's so difficult to, but
Yeah,
it's been iterative. Like, you cannot get out in at once. You have to
to
slowly change and accept for yourself, and maybe get confirmation from people around you as well, because you see the fans, oh, nice, and you take them on a journey, step by
yeah,
step, exploring further and further.
yeah. So
And then if you go and watch back like 1 year ago, you're like, whoa, that changed a lot. But you don't really feel like, it doesn't really feel like a lot, because it's so slowly.
yeah, yeah, it's something that happens in your brain, right?
Yeah.
It's a conviction that you have, or a dream that you have, and you start working on it on a daily base. And
Yeah.
then, as you mentioned, step by step it happens. And then, especially the confirmations from, well, maybe people around you, or maybe an artist that you look up to, starts playing your song, um,
Yeah.
which gives you a lot of self value, maybe like you start to value your own opinion.
Yeah, that's true. And you get motivated. I get motivated as well because sometimes you're like, "Pff, what the fuck am I doing in the studio?"
Yeah,
And then when you see like the people around you, they appreciate it, and you see the fans appreciate it, or you play one show and you see the crowd appreciate it, and you're like, okay, I was right. But that's like a confirmation, and it, yeah, you start believing in yourself. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how much hours do you spend in the studio?
Whew, it's so difficult. I'm here like a lot of time, but there's more things to do than just studio time. I'm also really technical producer, so I like to read or watch YouTube about like mastering, whatever. Um, but basically, 5 days a week I'm in the studio.
And then
Um,
like 8 hours a day or something, full time job.
yeah, but I cannot work
No.
for 8 hours straight. Sometimes it's 1 hour, and the other hours are just wasted time because it's bullshit what you're doing.
Yeah,
And another day you can be 12 hours full focus. It goes up and down every.
it's the mind of a creative person.
Yep. Yeah, you cannot control it.
It's
I
super
would
hard
love
to
to,
control.
but
There's a few theories of people who tend to believe that it's possible to control creativity or to at least channel it,
mhm.
um, but it's super hard. That's definitely true.
Yeah. For me, I realized that I need some deadlines,
Hmm.
because if there's no like deadlines these days, it makes it harder for me to start working and be creative.
And what is it? What is it that the deadlines bring that help you? Is it the pressure,
Yeah, the pressure.
or the fact that you should that someone's waiting for you that you have to deliver?
I think both, but the pressure as well, because whenever you wake up and I'm like, okay, I can start working now, but I'm not really feeling it. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow, and you start playing Call of Duty or do some other stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And if there's some pressure, people are waiting, or you want to deliver it, then I start doing it. And once you're on working on it, you start enjoying it and having more fun. So, but this is especially something that happened during COVID. Um, I started really good with the new sound, and now slowly, like there's less and less pressure to do anything. So
Yeah.
you start getting a bit more lazy. So I'm trying to make some deadlines for myself, so you get better hours in the studio.
Well, it's good that you know what your trigger is. It's good to
Mm,
know what keeps you motivated and what kind of turns you on in some sort of way. You know, like
yeah,
that yeah activates your engine.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Especially in times like this, I can imagine that it's frustrating and that um, yeah, it's easy to get demotivated every now and then.
mm, yeah,
It's hard for everyone, but especially for someone who doesn't have a boss that tells him what to do.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of artists feel the same. Like sometimes you have good news and it goes up, and then nothing happens and it goes down, and you need to
Yeah, and what's
try and
best is to stick here,
yeah, yeah,
to kind of flow
yeah,
in between everything, and
yeah,
to enjoy the heights, but
yeah,
also kind of know how to deal with the lows because there is and will be lows.
for sure.
Um, I want to thank you, man.
Cool.
I enjoyed the conversation and getting to know you better. Because as I mentioned, I only your name kind of ring the bell from a couple of years ago,
Yeah,
and the Maddix brand kind of started when I quit. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. We never really met.
no, I
We
started
met.
artist coaching 6 years ago. So that's when you started Maddix. Yeah,
Yeah, it's exactly the same time frame.
yeah. So that overlap. But I was curious to hear your story and how you've been doing and how you're dealing with everything that's going on now. So thanks for taking the time to do this.
Awesome. Thanks for having
And
me.
yeah, no problem. Have a good day, man.
You too. Bye bye.